Back on the countdown. We're at number one. Number one on my fantasy playlist, November 20th, 1983. There's lots to talk about on this record. A heavy metal thundering classic, thundering into the top 5 on Billboard's Hot 100. It's Quiet Riot. Come on, feel the noise. Girls, rock with boys. I tell you something. When I think about this record, I always go back. June 1973. I was in Florida. We were vacationing down in Florida. And I heard the original version of Come On Feel the Noise by Slade. June 1973. Boy, that was rock and roll nirvana right there. But the Slade version, now keep this in mind, the Slade version did not make it. Slade didn't make it in America, period. Until 1984, Run Runaway, and My Oh My, I believe was the other hit they had here, but that was in 84. In the 70s, boy, they were cranking out Come On Feel the Noise, Goodbye to Jane, and they had about 6 top 10 hits in England. The original version of Come On Feel the Noise went to number 98 here in the States. That's it. Went to number 1 in England. Now, let's fast forward to the late 70s, talk a little bit about Quiet Riot. They played with Van Halen. Van Halen was kind of their peers at one time. Late 70s, West Coast, I believe it's Los Angeles, they killed this place. They played at a place called the Starwood. Now, if anybody has paid their dues, Kevin Dubrow, D-U-B-R-O-W. Just found out he passed away, died from a drug overdose, I believe. Some years ago, Kevin Dubrow, lead singer of Quiet Riot. Boy, oh boy. Here's the thing. Kevin Dubrow, well, when Van Halen got that record deal in the late 70s, Kevin Dubrow, the band members of Quiet Riot, they were hopeful of getting a record deal. Now, this was 1977, 1978, 79, that era right there. And they auditioned. Quiet Riot auditioned for 23. Was it 20? Yeah, 20. Whoa. 32. Thought it was 23. Well, I got it down on my notes, so we'll go with 32. They auditioned for 32 record labels. Turned down by all of them. The reason their sound, unlike that of Van Halen, was it was not very distinct. Their sound was not very distinct. Then he lost his lead guitarist, the legendary Randy Rhoads. Randy Rhoads joined Ozzy's band. And Kevin Dubrow realized his voice wasn't that great, but he worked to improve his voice, and he sort of rebuilt the band Quiet Riot, and by the early 80s they got themselves a record deal. It was with Pasha Records. They played the Trub. Yes, they did. They played the Troubadour, Quiet Riot in 1982, and they were knocking it out. Boy, that volume was raised, and the heavy metal, it was pounding away at the Troubadour. The legendary Troubadour in Los Angeles. Just about everybody's played the Troubadour in Los Angeles, and there was old Kevin Dubrow wearing his spandex, his chrome-studded belt, and he did a song. It was called "No More Booze," "No More Booze," "No More Booze," which became Metal Health. Got their record deal. Played the Roxy, a small club called the Roxy. Did a show at the Roxy, but it was ear splitting. I don't think I'd want to be there. I love metal, but I love melodic. I love hard rock as long as it's got a great melody to it, but it couldn't stand those decibels. But they were rocking that joint there, Quiet Riot. But now, let's go to the making of this record. You're not going to believe this. They hated this record. Come On, Feel the Noise. They hated it. Initially. Here's the deal. The guy who produced this album, Metal Health, his name was Spencer Proffer. He listened to some of the originals that the group had submitted for the album. He was not impressed. He might not have just heard a hit. But Kevin Dubrow, now Spencer Proffer, the producer, he thought, Kevin Dubrow, I always mispronounce his name, just bear with me, Dubrow. He sounds a lot like Noddy Holder, the lead singer of Slade. He suggested Spencer Crawford suggested that Quiet Riot they do a remake of Come On Feel the Noise. But, so here's the thing about this record. It is so obscure here in America. It went to #1 in England. But the song Come On Feel the Noise by Slade is so obscure here in America, most of the American listeners would think that it was an original by Quiet Riot, not being familiar with the original by Slade. Because the Slade version died without a trace here in the States. And I only heard it once. That was it on Florida radio stations. One of the Florida radio stations, man, they rocked out down there. Kevin DuBrow was not happy for DuBrow. DuBrow, he was not a fan of Slade. And the group members, they wanted to do originals, which is understandable. I mean, they got a big record deal. They want to really put out their personality, their persona, their music. And we don't want to F around with a remake. And they did they tried to sabotage the record. Let me tell you what happened during the actual recording. Kevin DuBrow, when Frankie Banali, and I just read that he's worth about $10 million. He's pretty rich. Frankie Banali, Frankie Banali, the drummer. I might be mispronouncing his last name, Banali. When Frankie Banali was doing his drum parts, Kevin DuBrow, the lead singer, he was making funny faces, and Frankie Banali, he was cracking up, he was laughing, he was like, he was messing up his drum parts. It got so bad that Spencer Crawford, the producer, told Kevin DuBrow to get out of the studio so that Frankie could do his drum parts. When it came time for Kevin DuBrow to do his vocals, I'll read you a quote. Frankie Banali, the drummer, supposedly had told him, quote, got this quote, to Kevin DuBrow, sing it like ass so they'll never use it. They didn't want the record company, they wanted to make this record so bad. Let's make this record so bad that the record company won't put it out, and maybe they'll release Metal Health instead. And, well, Kevin DuBrow's vocals was considered so weak on the final track, they had to double track his vocals to thicken it up. I just can't believe it because I thought this was a very passionate record that the Quiet Riot, of course, when I heard the Quiet Riot version, I kind of preferred the Slade version, but still, boy, they racked it up, I thought. Boy, oh boy, how about that for a story? Quiet Riot, and let's see if there's anything else I need to add to this. By the way, that album, Metal Health, it cost about $35,000 to make. $35,000. 1983. This was back in 1983. And Kevin DuBrow, I kind of understand his feelings about this because he paid his dues, auditioning for all these record companies, being turned down, losing Randy Rhoads in the late '70s, and getting a massive chance. Put this album out with originals and having to do this remake, and in fairness to Kevin DuBrow, probably many of the hard rock fans probably prefer Metal Health as opposed to Come On Feel the Noise. Come On Feel the Noise, of course, being the radio hit, being the more commercial record. Well, anyway, I'm just droning on now, so let me finish this up. Got Quiet Riot at #1 on my fantasy playlist, November 20th, 1983. Haven't figured out which fantasy playlist I'm going to count down. I'll probably migrate. I'm probably going to take about 2 or 3 weeks off, migrate to my Second Millennium channel and do a countdown there, but haven't decided yet which countdown to do. Well, anyway, this is it. Thanks for watching these videos and subscribing to this video channel of the 80s and 90s. Mr. DJ wrapping up countdown of fantasy playlist, November 20th, 1983. Gosh, 36 years ago. My goodness. Where did the time go, huh? Quiet Riot at #1. Come on, feel the noise. Take care.